welcome to our video number 2 in what we think we might be calling our Soul Sister Sync videos, but if you can think of a name you prefer, then let us know.
Yeah.
Yes. And what we would like to chat to you today is about the topic of love versus fear.
Yeah. So, we all go around the world operating from probably 2 different places, and one is that we're happy, we're joyful, we're feeling energized, we're feeling enthusiastic, and we call that love, for want of a better word to summarize all of those feelings.
Yeah.
Or we're feeling a little bit stressed out, we're feeling a bit confronted, we're feeling scared, we're feeling unhappy, and for want of a better word to summarise all of those feelings, we call that fear.
Yeah.
Now, the idea you might have guessed is that if we always operate from a place of love, then we'll always feel better than if we always operate from a place of fear. It's impossible to do that all the time,
Yeah.
but there's lots of tips and tricks that we can use to help us move to be operating from a place of love.
Yeah. So I think one tip that we can give you is always assume the best possible scenario. So if something happens and your immediate reaction is, oh my gosh, that's happened, that's negative for whatever reason, either I don't like the way that person's behaving, or okay, it's reflecting negatively on me, question it a little bit and see, okay, what else could be going on here? Now this is all about beliefs. So remember, you are free to believe whatever you want. So you don't even have to, I know people who will consult everybody to ask their opinion, to ask their advice, and that is fine. I'm not saying don't do that, but what happens then is you get a lot of their stuff, either a lot of their love, which is great, or a lot of their fear, possibly not so great. So focus in on you and just say, right, I'm doing the beliefs here, this is my reality, I'm creating my world here, what do I want to believe, and what is the most empowering belief for me?
So you had a good example of that, didn't you, with the
holiday?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to be going on holiday this week, and the person I'm going with called me today and said, oh, have you looked up to see how we can get from the airport to where we're going? And this isn't the first time they've mentioned it, so my immediate thought was fear, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm rubbish, they've asked me this before, I haven't done it, maybe they're feeling like, why hasn't she done it? Very much a place of fear. And then I thought, what else could it be? What would be a more empowering belief for me? That would be that this person is just really excited. They didn't have to call me up in the middle of the day and say, ooh, have you figured out where we're going? What does that suggest? What could it suggest? Could suggest they're excited. And if I want to be really sort of like empowering for myself, maybe they're excited actually about going with me, which is a really uplifting thought. So choose the uplifting thoughts. Choose what feels good for you. And stick to it. Even if somebody were to say to me, yes, I think they were just annoyed. I don't want to believe that. I want to believe they're excited, actually, and that's your power.
And it is about you, because at the end of the day, you've got to go and look up, how to get from the airport to the hotel anyway. So, it doesn't really matter what the truth is. It's about how you feel. And if you actually go back to a situation where you were really scared and you were really frightened or really down, maybe your boss has called you in for a meeting and you don't know what the meeting is and you spend 3 days worrying about it. Think about how you actually felt during those 3 days, and you probably felt really rubbish, really tired, really couldn't really concentrate on what you were doing, worrying about what was happening. Versus if you thought, oh, maybe he's calling me in for a promotion, maybe he's calling me in because he's seen that I've done great work and he wants to, and you would have felt good in those 3 days, and it wouldn't have changed the outcome. Whatever he was going to talk to you about is whatever he was going to talk to you about, but you'd have had a fantastic 3 days instead of a rubbish 3 days.
Yeah.
Fear can be useful in some situations, so it is there in your body as a mechanism to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So fear triggers the flight and fight response, and that can be really useful in certain situations. So if you're kind of getting a kind of funny feeling in your tummy when you get into a cab, then maybe listen to that just in case.
Yeah.
For example, but there are other situations where it's just your brain referring to your past, thinking, oh, in this similar situation something bad happened, so I'm going to create this fear response, and sometimes that's just not very helpful.
Yeah, and actually distinguishing between those two can be important. So the tip I heard recently to distinguish, because I think what you mentioned touches very much on your intuition. If you're getting into a cab and there's a knotted feeling in your stomach, that could be your intuition telling you something. But for example, you're going on stage and your stomach's doing butterflies, probably not your intuition, that's probably just understandably nerves. So in order to distinguish the difference, the tip I heard recently, and I'll quote her, this is my quote, my coach Ashley, so I'll put the video in the link if you want to explore it more, is that intuition, the voice will tend to be quite soft. The voice in your head that's going off will tend to be quite soft. If it's fear, the voice will tend to be quite loud. Yeah, so if, I don't know, you're about to, like you say, go into a meeting and the voice is shouting into your head, you're going to get fired, you're going to get fired, you're going to get fired, probably fear. And like Artie said, you can probably reframe that. If you're going into a situation and intuition is telling you, actually wait a few minutes, maybe go into a different cab. If it's a softer suggestion, that might be your intuition. And I'm still practicing as to how to tell the difference. But practice.
Yeah, practice makes perfect with these things.
Yeah.
There are lots of ways where you can, if you find yourself getting into quite a low energy, quite a low vibe, where you're worrying a lot, there are lots of ways you can get out of that. And it doesn't all have to be, the deep work of understanding your childhood and where your fears are from. It can just be, jumping up and down on the spot for a bit to get your endorphins flowing, or listening to a great song, or something that we love is anchoring, which I will put a link to in the video below about how to anchor. But an anchor is great because you can fire it off, you can use your body to fire off like any emotion that you want to at any time, and that's amazing. Tony Robbins, if you guys have heard of him, uses anchors a lot when he's talking. So he is a coach who works internationally with thousands of people in a room. And when you see him speak, he uses a lot of gestures like that and like that. And not only do they punctuate his talk, and he's very energetic, so not only do they punctuate his talk, but they're anchors that he set for himself to get himself energized and confident. So you can do that for yourself really easily. It takes you 10 minutes to create an anchor, and then you can use that in whatever situation you want to use it in.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Another super powerful way is to get yourself into a place of gratitude. And this, I'm trying to do this now. When I find myself getting into a negative funk, I'm like, okay, hold on a second. What can I be grateful for? So let's say if I'm irritated a little bit about my job, well, there's millions of things I can be grateful for about my job. Just the fact that I have a job, for example, the fact that I get paid to come to work, the fact that I'm in a lovely office, all of these things. So practicing gratitude is a really great way of basically instantly getting yourself into a place of love. I think, isn't it? I think it's impossible for you to feel grateful and depressed at the same time or something. Yeah. So that's a really powerful way.
And in fact, actually, any of my 3-minute stress busters, which I've put up recently, will work. So just pick your favourite one. They're on Instagram and Facebook. So just scroll through them and see which one takes your fancy.
Yeah.
Different things for different times, I think, for me. I like being silly a lot, so...
Yeah, humour is a great one. And actually, sometimes I anchor to a comedy show. Yeah, so if something's made me laugh, then I'll anchor to that, and that can be really powerful.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. I don't think there's anything more we wanted to say.
No.
Should we do our call to action then?
Let's do our call to action.
So we've got a bit of a challenge for you guys now. We thought that if you spend 5 minutes a day just thinking about a situation that brings you down, so it could be that you don't like your job, it could be a certain person that you don't get on with very well, and just think about that situation and bring love into it. And when I say love, whatever that means to you, so it could be gratitude for the person or the job or whatever it is. It could be that you want to send happy thoughts to that person, or you want to pray for their happiness or wish happy things happen to them. Whatever that means to you. And we say 5 minutes, which may seem like a really long time, but do it for 5 minutes. Set a stopwatch. Everyone's got 5 minutes spare in the day, don't they? So set a stopwatch, and at first you might find yourself thinking, what do I do with this big long stretch of time? 5 minutes has never seemed so long. But then as you do it over the days, you might find it getting easier and easier, and you might find that actually I wouldn't even say might. I think you will find that as your own thoughts about the situation change, you go in there with a different energy, you go in there with a different vibe, you go in there with different reactions,
Yeah.
and the situation will change for you,
Yes.
which would be amazing. So do it for 30 days, 5 minutes a day, and we're going to do it too. So we've challenged each other.
We are.
And I would say write it down, right?
Yes.
So
That's a great tip.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really easy when you're kind of thinking something for 5 minutes to assume you've done the work when actually you've been thinking about what you had for dinner and what you've got to,
Yeah.
And when you're writing it down, you really are holding yourself accountable. So for 5 minutes, if you're writing, lists of things that you're grateful for your job, or, you're grateful for a person that you don't get on with, or whatever it was that you wanted to work on, then you'll have something to show for at the end of that 5 minutes. And then when you are feeling down about it, you've got something to read back to yourself as well.
Yeah. And if you feel resistance around this, all the more reason for you to do it. So I'll tell myself, I'm like, okay, I need to, pour gratitude into this. I'll do it a bit later. I'm still annoyed. No, it's the time when you're annoyed. I know it's going to be a bit tricky, but that's the time when it's really powerful for you to reframe it. So maybe come up with a time, right? If you go to bed approximately at 11 o'clock, right? 10:45 every evening, I'm going to commit to doing this, even if I don't feel like it. And let us know what happens. We're going to be letting you know what happens to us in our next video, and we will include all the juicy details.
Yes. Okay, so that's all from us for now. If you do know someone who's worried about something, who's feeling down in a situation, and don't we all know
Yes.
people, please share this video with them if you think it will help them. And please, in the comments below, write about what you'd like to us to do videos on. So if there's particular questions you have or particular topics that you want us to cover, please let us know.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.